We'd like to call our meeting to order. Appreciate everybody being here and online. Cash and fund balance report, Robbie Holbrook.
I'm going to do a real quick roll call.
Oh, yes, sir.
Jerry White, you're here. Chuck Fritz.
Here.
Rick Meredith. Rick's going to be absent. He emailed me earlier. Catherine Denenberg.
I'm here.
Mrs. Scott.
You may want to make that Commissioner Creasy.
I was told that couldn't happen until after Monday.
Commissioner Creasy is present.
Well, they kind of skipped over on you.
Well, I checked with Annette, and the nominating committee meets Monday, and apparently we can't make any changes until that meeting is taking place. So Commissioner Scott is legitimately on the budget committee this month.
Well, then
She's not aware of that. We thought we started in September.
Well, I think normally they get maybe the nominating committee meets before September when they didn't this year because of virtual meetings, and so it hasn't happened yet, Commissioner Creasy. So I'm not sure that you are a voting member of the budget committee yet.
Okay, move on.
Okay, Commissioner Smallridge. You're muted. Commissioner Smallridge.
He's trying. This is Mayor Frank. He keeps he's green, but so I know he's on there, and then he muted himself. So he must be having some technical difficulties.
Okay, I'm gonna count him as present right now. Commissioner Waddell. Here. Commissioner Val. Here.
Thank you, Robbie.
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes.
you have am I right about the nominating committee and Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Creasy still being on their respective committees until after it happens Monday?
I'm not certain of that. I mean, it makes sense because your nominating committee hasn't met, but I haven't. I think what usually has happened is the nominating committee is met in August or met before your committee swaps. So I can certainly, I don't know who your parliamentarian is on here. Commissioner Fritz may know, but that makes sense, what you're saying.
Bill's also online.
During our election years, you know, our commissions don't meet until September. And so our committees are not even selected until September. So usually we stay idle until September meetings till our committees are realigned. So until election time, we always don't do anything until September. With the nominating committee meets in September, and then it's approved by full commission in September.
I think you're exactly right, Chuck. Teresa Scott is still a member of this budget committee until the nominating committee meets. So at this time, is Teresa online?
No, she has a doctor. She has a doctor's appointment today.
Okay, well, Commissioner Creasy, you are not on this committee until the nominating committee verifies that.
Okay.
So moving on.
And one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
That don't stop me from speaking up tonight. I just won't vote.
You go right ahead, sir. We always welcome your comments. You're more than welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Creasy. Cash and fund balance report. I'm sure a lot of you already noticed that, unassigned fund balance grew. We have unaudited numbers, but we have closed out June. It's 8.7 million. Total fund balance is 12.1 million. Other notable fund balances, the highways at 3.2, schools are at 10.1 million. So, I mean, a lot of that is due to the fact that, for the schools especially, I think Dr. Grant could even say more to this, but in March, when all that happened, the schools closed, they didn't spend a whole lot of money then. I know in our budget, in travel and staff development, we didn't spend any money from March on because we couldn't go anywhere or do anything, but just a couple of reasons why our revenues, we budgeted 29,198,000, and we realized 30,995,000, which is 1.8 million more than budget. And our expenditures, our amended budget this past year was 34,093,075, and we only spent 30,296,561. So there's the reason for your increase. We had a lot of money left over to spend for those, and our revenue is quite considerable for what we had budgeted. And all that was due to sales tax. I mean, it was 600 and almost 700,000 more than what was budgeted for. So we had a good year revenue-wise, and we're thankful for that because we had a lot of people tell us that we weren't going to have a really good year after the COVID-19 hit. So, Mr. Chairman, you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Bobby, if you would give us a little bit of history, how long has it been since we've had 8.7 million in the unassigned fund balance?
Well, I've only been doing this close a year and a half. It's never been, I don't remember us ever having it since I've been the deputy.
And what is the requirement for the supermajority to be able to spend
Right now, it's 4.5 million.
4.5?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that $2 million be transferred from the unassigned fund balance to a fund designated for major capital building projects. And if I get a second on that, I will elaborate as to why I feel that is an appropriate decision.
You got a second?
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Would please. I'm trying to find appropriate words to use, but every so often we have major capital building projects come up. The Oak Ridge Sessions Court, one of the first ones that comes to mind. We wind up taking out notes. We wind up robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to pay for those projects. I think now would be a very appropriate time to start putting money aside for any future projects that may come up. And I think this is an opportune time to do that. I think the Lord's blessed us with his fund balance. I think it's a good use of the taxpayers' dollars, but always have to take out loans and notes whenever we have to do a project like that.
Any other comments? Motion to put $2 million out of our fund balance into a capital outlay project.
Do we have an account for that, Rob?
Yes. 101-34785 is assigned for capital projects. This is an assigned reserve, which means it has the lowest restrictions. There's not a law or any kind of statute saying we have to do it. So if we got in a jam or needed the money somewhere else, the commission could also make another motion to, move the money elsewhere. So
Good deal.
it's not as strong of a commitment as some of the other reserves are.
Any other comments before we vote?
In other words, that project that the mayor has got on the agenda for later on, that money can come out of that money there to be addressed.
That's the way I understand it, yes. Any other comments? All in favor, as Robbie roll calls?
Jerry White,
Aye.
Chuck Britt, Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Smallridge.
Your mic's not working, Bob.
Commissioner Waddell. Yes. Commissioner Val.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Need a 5 out. Commissioner Small is not going to vote.
I'm gonna call off real quick, too.
Motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda. Anything else on that, Rob?
Yeah, no, not on that, but I do have the sales tax report real quick.
Yes, sir.
We had July sales tax in, we were up 19% in the county to 3.4 million from last year in July, we were at 2.9. Anderson County was 408,899, which is up, 15%, I think. I've lost the numbers on that, but we were at 408, the last July was 257, so that's almost, we almost doubled that. So sales tax continues to do well for us in Anderson County. So that's all I have on sales tax.
And Christmas is coming up.
Right?
Thank you, Robert. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we discussed this last month, and I was told to hold off until this month because the books were closed. But seeing the windfall that we have had and money-wise, and also reminding this committee that we received COVID money that took care of the majority of our cars, vehicles. So I would like to propose a raise for our employees. I'd like to especially remind this commission that throughout this entire incident, with COVID, our employees have been showing up to work. Our employees have kept our business going, kept our offices open. No, we've not always been here, but they have. According to Robbie, he gave me this piece of paper, a 3% increase for our employees would be $611,573. I think that's very doable this year, and I would like to see this committee take that up. I'd like to hear something from someone else.
Someone else, go ahead.
I vote for it because, Mr. Chairman. I've been told in the past I couldn't vote for it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I would if I could, though.
We're both employees here, but I'm not speaking for myself, but speaking for the guys that I work with.
Amen.
My shift, the sheriff's department, they've all been here through the entire thing. I know the courthouse is also, they've been here, the highway department, everybody's been working. And I think they deserve a little something.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
unless our budget director there can confirm that we can be sure that we'll have enough reoccurring money for next year to offset that, we're committing one-time money that will have to be starting in the hole for next year budget that we'll have to make up. And that's a big hole to start out with. So,
Commissioner Fritz, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. This is, I don't see no reoccurring money to support that next year.
Sales tax,
Sales tax, honestly, in the budget this year.
You're spending it before you get it.
Right,
we're already receiving it.
Well, you got it this year. You got it this year.
Sales tax projections, though, that we were increasing the budget to 1.5 million, which was 700,000 more this year. But when COVID hit, they encouraged us to go back to last year's numbers, and we did that. My only problem with taking this up today is with Denver and Shane not being able to vote and 2 people absent, we don't even have a majority to approve this today. So it probably needs to be taken up.
I've just been informed that Shane and I can vote for it because we had our jobs before we were elected. I don't know if that's.
Make a motion then.
I make the motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second that we spend $661,000. What's it?
$711,573.
That's projected numbers. That was at the beginning of budget season. That's going to be give and take a little on that. I haven't done any updated numbers since then.
And the numbers that Denver talked about, 661,
611, 573.
611.
3% raise and benefit.
All right, I got a motion and a second on the floor that we provide a 3% raise to all employees and take it out of the sales tax undesignated fund. comments, discussion, comments?
I still don't agree with the, using one-time money, and I still have questioned the idea about the, voting situation, but, there's something I can't support.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
typically, I would be in full support of more money for all employees. I would like to put this off to maybe next month's meeting for a little more study and discussion.
Ms. Denenberg, I got a motion and a second on the floor. Why don't we,
That was just my, that was just a comment that I was making. I wasn't trying to amend the motion or anything of that sort.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, if it'll help you, sir, I'll make a motion we amend to push off till next month.
I will also rescind my motion.
I'll get better into that, and I'll get numbers.
If you want to put it up next month, it's fine.
All right. We got a motion on the floor and a second to table this till next month to get more information. All in favor, say aye when Robbie calls your name.
Commissioner White,
Yeah.
Commissioner Fritz,
Yes.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Smallridge,
I could see him saying yes.
okay, Commissioner Waddell, and Commissioner.
Brian, did you get a hold of him?
I tried twice, he went forward.
Okay.
We can see his face on our screen. All right, I'll get better numbers, up-to-date numbers, and we should have a full committee next month, too.
And that'll come back to budget. All right.
All right.
Moving right along to, that's all the sales tax and everything? All right, our consent agenda.
The first, transfers not requiring commission approval, numbers 1 through 4.
Move for approval.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say it. All in favor, vote. Robbie, you gonna call the name?
Chair, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Fritz,
Yes.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Yes,
Commissioner Smallridge,
that was an acknowledgement of yes.
and Commissioner Val. All right.
Thank you.
The full transfers and appropriations numbers 5 through 9, seeking approval as a group, or any questions or individuals, you can take any individual you like.
Anybody got any discussion between appropriations 5 through 9?
Move for approval as a group.
Need a second. Second. All in favor, say yes.
Mr. Chairman, I believe
Yes.
number six, possibly 7, I had questions on.
Ask me. Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to pull it up here. I had to move it over to another computer.
I will say this, number 6, real quick, there's a change in the section.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I wasn't quite sure on the explanation on number 6. It reads to appropriate funds for reimbursement to employee child care fund for payrolls and the dates. Anderson County Schools continued to pay employees through the COVID-19 closing of schools, even though child care fees were not collected. Are we paying the employees of the school system? Are we reimbursing them and or paying for child care?
Here comes your answer right now.
Thank you, sir. There it is.
This Dr. Perry, what we have is our employee child care is self-sufficient. So when we went to those employees have their kids in that. So once we went out on COVID, to get the CARES Act money, they would not let us lay anybody off. So what we did is we continued to pay the employees that were in the child care for those almost 4 months. And the child care is run through Head Start. So Head Start has to be reimbursed for that money. So we're taking that money out of our fund balance and giving it back to make that program whole.
All right, thank you, Dr. Parrott.
And that fund runs about, we've done that most years. We offset that about $30,000 every year because it is really, it's really a great, for our employees, because we've got a lot of young teachers, and a lot of them, when they have kids, they'll resign and stay home. Now they're leaving their kids in the program. The great thing about it right now is the state, because we're critical infrastructure, the state is giving all of our employees vouchers to pay for that child care. So they're getting child care free right now.
Good. Commissioner Denenberg, you got a question for number 7?
Yes, sir, Dr. Parrott.
Come on down again.
On number 7, it's regarding the conversion of student records from microfiche to digital, I'm assuming. Do you know how, excuse me, how far back you're going to go in the conservation of the records? How many years?
So back in the 90s, from about 1990 to about 1998, all of those things were put on microfiche. That was going to be the big thing. And then we stopped doing that, and we started converting down to just regular CD. And what has happened now, our microfiche reader has went down, and we can't get parts for them. You can't even buy one now. So we're going, everything that's on microfiche will be on CDs now. So we're converting all of that data.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Hey, before we go on this, number 6 is a correction. 141-49-800 should be 141-99-100-509 operating transfers to other funds. We found that out after we sent out the package.
141, what now?
99-100-509. 49-800 transfers in, 49-800, 99-100 transfers out. So we just made a small mistake there.
Okay.
And I need to know who the second was on this motion.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dr. Parrott? All in favor say aye as Robbie calls your name.
Terry White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge,
He's off now for some reason.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Brown.
Off is rebooting the system and trying to have your adjustment.
Thank you, Brown. Number 10 is appropriation from the county clerk. He's increasing revenue for business tax and increasing data supplies, office supplies, $1,450, service contracts, $400, and maintenance and repairs, $1,700. To purchase papers, toners, for the clerk's offices to pay for maintenance on decal printers and to pay monthly invoices on copiers in Oak Ridge office.
Need a motion.
Make a motion.
Got a motion, need a second.
Second.
Got a motion, need a second. Discussion? Discussion on county clerk? All in favor say aye. Robbie?
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Fritz,
Fritz,
Commissioner Denenberg,
aye.
Commissioner Smallridge,
He's rebooting.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val, Commissioner Fritz. How about a head nod?
Chuck, you gonna vote? Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll take that.
Highway Department.
Appropriation transfers, and it's appropriations 11 through 13, sorry, that's what they for. administration. Seek approval as a group or individual.
Motion to approve as a group, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second as a group. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
And for some reason, you're fading in and out today.
I don't know. Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val, Commissioner Smallridge. You back up yet? Okay, thank you. Two of those, just to say, two of those highway amendments were for money that were received, disaster relief, $245,213 for the flooding back in 2019, and state aid program, $532,180. So
Appreciate your good job, man, Gary.
That money is here.
that is here, we've received it.
Okay.
The next one is from Treasurer Deeds, and it's appropriation from archives for $23,320 to other capital outlay $23,320 for contract. It's the final payment for the contract, or final year for a contract on good restoration.
Need a motion.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say
Commissioner White,
aye.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val, Commissioner Fritz.
He's nodding his head up and down, and so did Bob.
Okay, we got the,
Yeah, we see him. We're gaining.
The next one.
Next item is Rex Lynch.
From the circuit court clerk, Rex Lynch, is decreasing his data processing reserve $15,000, and is increasing data processing equipment for $15,000, purchase new computers and scanner equipment. And I see you have to approve this because I did ask Brian that earlier.
Got a motion to approve? Need a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge,
That was an aye.
thank you. Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val, Commissioner Fritz. I think he's rebooting now.
Motion carries.
The next one is for emergency management, it's number 16. It's increasing their motor vehicle code 38,581.49 and decreasing their reserve 24,648 and other supplies and materials code 13,933. They're going to purchase to replace the current 1999 vehicle in order to transfer communication equipment, mobile repeater and radios to rural areas of Anderson County and assist other departments.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion? Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Robbie, roll call the vote, please.
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val. Okay, number 17 through 19. The first 17 is composed of Roger Lloyd and Buildings and Ground and the sheriff, and the other two are from the sheriff's department. They're all three really for the sheriff, but one deals with a boiler at the jail and that ESG is going to help with. So looking for approval for all three.
Need a motion to approve all three, 17, 18, and 19.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor of Robbie, roll call vote.
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott, she's not here, sorry. Commissioner Smallridge? She's on the phone. Commissioner Waddell? Commissioner Val?
Motion carries.
All right, the next one is from, the next three are from the mayor, 20 through 22. We can approval as a group, or we can take any individual or any questions you may have.
What's the pleasure?
All three are from reserves, moving money from reserves to expenditure code.
Move for approval as a group.
I'll second it, but I have some questions.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Discussion. Go ahead, Ms. Catherine.
Mayor Frank, are you on? There you are. I just wanted to know, when they started looking to do renovations on the Mariner Point property, were there more than one design firm that was talked with for possible suggestions and or different applications that could possibly have been looked at?
On this particular one, so for instance, the single entrance and the commission room, we're using Blankenship and Partners, which is Bill
Right.
Blank. On this one, we're using a Studio 4 design because they did the Oak Ridge Senior Center. And
Yes,
they've also done the senior center in Knoxville. So they did have experience with any of the ADA issues and a lot of, that's why we went with them for this particular project.
well, I knew that it was them as soon as I saw the drawings, and you didn't even have to tell me. But I guess my comment is going to be simply that I would like to have seen a few other suggestions that gave a little more, I don't know, thought to the designs. I guess you can tell that I don't particularly care for their work. So we'll leave it at that. But
Okay.
thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor of 20, 21, 22? Any other comments?
Oh, one other question. This is their money, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All three of these budget amendments are from restricted codes that pertain to these budgets, the animal control, their reserve, senior center, and preservation of records.
I think the motion was for Chuck and Catherine.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
That's an aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz?
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg?
As long as it's their money, yes.
Commissioner Smallridge? Commissioner Waddell? Commissioner Val? Thank you. The next one is from Police Services, John Vickery, is increasing part-time help $6,560 and decreasing the vehicle maintenance parts and other departments $6,560 to hire a part-time temporary person to help with inventory and police service, shop supplies and equipment per HR's request for insurance purposes.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? $6,560, John Vickery. Any discussion? All in favor?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz?
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge? Commissioner Waddell? And Commissioner Val? All right, the next one is also, it's from Clerk and Master, from Hal Cousins. It's an increase in their 162 code, clerical personnel, $10,000, and a decrease in part-time due to employee being on leave of absence since 6/1/2020. and will continue until retirement on 12/31/2020. Clerk or master's office is in need of a full-time employee to decrease the burden on their employees.
You've heard the request. I need a motion.
Move for approval.
Got a motion to approve. A second? Need a second. Got a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
How, just to make sure I understand this right, you're still using the money in your part-time code, you're just wanting extra money to add to that? Is that not correct?
Yeah, and what happened was, and I can't go into detail too much.
Sure.
Okay, so what we got somebody that's basically been out and on payroll and will remain on payroll based on what we've been told through December 31. But that means we're one person short, so we got basically 4 people doing 5 people's job. Once 12/31 hit, based on the information we have, we don't need this anymore.
Okay.
We'll have that position and that money open for future. So it's just, and we're just moving money. What we're doing, actually taking a temporary person, making them full-time so they can work more hours for it. And then that will be a full-time position, but we'll have.
This money will come from what?
position back.
Their part. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Everybody hear that explanation?
It's moving money from part-time to a full-time code.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other go ahead. Any other comments? All in favor?
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge, Commissioner Waddell, Commissioner Val. All right. 25 through 30 are from the finance department for me, seeking approval as a group, or we can take any amount we'd like to speak about. A couple of these, we're using some more of the state appropriation grant, the $87,526, to pay for 5 different department needs that were on the capital outlay request for this year. 2 of them are for the law director for legal services for a case that we have closed finally, I think. Well, I don't know if it's closed, but we still will see for this lawyer. 29 is it's a COVID grant, it's the money that the mayor spoke about last month, the $1.1 billion. We're going to put $275,000. We're increasing revenue. We're putting $275,000 in the code, so that it's a reimbursement grant, so we can start spending the money for things that we are sure of getting the money back for. Where there's a BCPI project that's attached that we're going to see if we think it's reimbursable before we spend the money on that. So that's 29, and 30 is for the Blockhouse Valley remediation, the Bay Arcade that we do every year. I really should put this in the budget next year if it's going to continue, and I will do so. I've already made myself a notice to do that. So
I need a motion that we approve these as a group.
Move approval as a group.
And I need a second for appropriations 25 through 30.
Second.
I got a motion and a second that we approve the appropriations 25 through 30. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, Robbie, take a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner White,
Yeah, yes, aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Denenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Smallridge, Commissioner Waddell, and Commissioner Val.
Thank you.
And 31, the last one is a request from Roger Lloyd Building and Grounds for undesignated fund balance, $35,000, increasing cleaning materials, $35,000. He's already spent 58% of his cleaning materials budget just for purchasing materials for COVID. Cost of materials have gone up significantly. We have purchased large order sanitation wipes, 35 gallons of hand sanitizer, floor stains for sanitizer stations, plexiglass, electrostatic disinfectant powder and sprayers for building sanitation. All these are, keep in mind, this is probably, most of this will be, if not all of this will be a reimbursement back to the county general.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, need a second, Ms. Kathy.
Second.
Got a motion and a second that we approve appropriation 31. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor say, Robbie?
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Commissioner Fritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Vandenberg, Commissioner Smallridge. Commissioner Waddell, and Commissioner Val. Okay,
Thank you much, too, Ron.
the last thing on the agenda today is, section A from Mayor Frank on the Jolly Building Plaza. And I'm sure Steve, I can speak about this. There's a lot of good information in here and nice pictures as well.
Mayor Frank.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have a budget amendment today, and because I don't have any, I've asked the architect to scale this design back in terms of cost and maybe some cost savings, but I did want to see if there was interest on your part for me pursuing those changes. Something to let you know about: the city of Clinton received a major grant that will be redoing the sidewalks along that area that also meets the Jolly Plaza. And I don't know how many of you have been able to see the paint color. One of the things that we're trying to do is, instead of having the Jolly building over there and then the courthouse, we're trying to give the look that these complement each other. It's a government complex. And I think that the paint color was chosen to match the inset of the courthouse. And with the plaza, this would make it more of a usable space, not only for the employees, but most especially for the community. So I just wanted to kind of get your feedback, and if it's something that you think is worthy of me putting a little extra work into, I'll be happy to come back next month with a funding proposal and maybe some closer numbers to something a little more manageable in terms of cost. But I just wanted to share it with you and see what you all thought about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments from our budget committee? Any questions, any comments? Any,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Frank,
Yes.
well, the pictures certainly look better than it does now in person. In going through this, one of the items was concrete stamping. In just looking at these pictures, is that in reference to the way the flooring looks, where it looks like it's laid brick or some type of stone?
Yes, ma'am. And in fact, I met with Commissioner Meredith about this, since this is his district, and because the city had obtained a grant, and he and I talked extensively about that stamping because he's familiar with it from the construction standpoint. And so
Right.
we asked the architect to do, and this was Mr. Meredith's idea, was perhaps just create maybe a design or do the stamping in order to match the courthouse brick on a more limited basis, because as you can see in that estimated cost, that's the big chunk of change.
Yes, it is.
So I did connect with Mr. Blankenship. In fact, yesterday we talked because he's going to be bringing me back the some final design ideas on the room 118A, and he said he was still working on that. So if you all do have an interest, I'll bring something back. I'll have it continue to work on that. I'll bring something back at next month's budget committee.
Well, I think Commissioner Meredith's idea as to doing some kind of design is certainly worth consideration, rather than just a smooth concrete or whatever application there on that deck. I would also suggest that if some type of paint or light reflective materials to keep it from heating up so much would also be of interest as far as I'm concerned, because I'm sure that it gets rather hot out there under the sun in the spring, summer, and possibly the fall. But my other question is, I've heard from several of the people who occupy that building that there is a major problem with the roof and leaking. Has that been addressed?
Yes, the building has a new roof on it. I don't think Roger is online. Now we did have pardon?
Roger's in the building.
Uh-oh, Roger's in the building.
Oh, okay.
And so is Elvis, so we got the whole gambit.
It's not more than.
There he is. Hey, Roger.
Hey. The roof on the Jolly building isn't new, it's no more than, I'd say 5 or 6 years old, just educated guess, I can't go back and find out, but we had a new roof and stuff put on over there. I've not heard an issue one about the roof leak.
Well, what were people talking about when they mentioned some kind of leaking over there, Roger?
That's what I'm saying to you, it's never been asked of me about roof leaking.
Really?
I mean, we had some little bit of leak where we had some windows out last week, but nothing. No, I've not had a roof leak in a long time.
I think Roger, and Commissioner Denenberg, I think just going back, we did have a situation where I think it was a toilet was clogged up or something, and we had some leakage, or there was some kind of pipe that broke or something behind a wall.
Sorry.
Now, we did have, but no, I've not had anything with Jolly building.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up in case there was an issue with structure that may need to be addressed before we were looking at aesthetics.
No, as far as, like I said, as far as I know, like I said, the roof, it isn't more than 5 years old, and I've not had any complaints or phone calls.
Okay. Well, I will acquiesce to your superior knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine. Any other questions? Any other discussion?
As for me, I can share my opinion. I'm not interested in it. We just spent a ton of money on the courthouse, the Jolly building, and the building in Oak Ridge. I'm in favor of our employees getting a raise, and I think they'd be rather upset if we spent $550,000 to put some benches and redo the concrete in front of the Jolly building, and we're not willing to give them a raise.
Okay. Any other comments?
I do have one more comment.
Yes, sir.
I think Mayor Princeton confirmed this. Of the state appropriation grant, we still have $147,414 that we have to spend, or we lose that money. So we do have 3 years to spend it. Right, Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Excuse me, Robbie, would you repeat that because I couldn't quite hear you?
It's 140 of the state appropriation grant that we received from the governor this year. We spent some last month and a little this month. We still have $147,414 that can go towards capital improvement or a project like this even. It wouldn't pay for the whole thing, but it would pay for some of it.
If we don't spend it, we lose it.
But we have 3 years, I think,
Okay.
to spend it.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Mayor, do you need anything from this budget committee?
No, sir. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
thank you. New business. New business. Any old business? Are we through? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.